Global medicine was really my goal from the outset. I went into medicine because I was seeking a skill set to offer people tangible service. I was motivated by my Christian faith to serve the most vulnerable among us, and I chose medicine as my route for doing that.
If a medical student or anyone is interested in pursuing global humanitarian medical service, what traits, experiences, and skills would serve them well?
I think the number one trait that is needed in a career in global health is flexibility. And anyone who's spent time overseas or worked in global health or in a resource-limited setting understands the need for flexibility. That you won't have the things that you necessarily want or need, and schedules won't go as planned, and you've just got to be flexible. You've got to roll with the punches. And I think patience is another virtue that comes in handy anywhere in medicine, but especially in global health as you deal cross-culturally with people.
It sounds like it. It really sounds like it. How did your experiences at the IU School of Medicine prepare you for your medical career or your humanitarian career?
First of all, I can't really draw a distinction between my medical career and my humanitarian career. I think those two are rolled together in one. And there were a lot of things at IU that helped prepare me for my career. From the earliest parts of first year, I sought out and was encountered by people and organizations that helped nurture what I saw as my calling in life. And I worked with Dr. Javier Sevilla, learning some medical Spanish and talking about healthcare for the Latino population here in Indianapolis as well as in Latin America. And I had opportunities all along the way, like in second year when I went on a trip with Global Health Outreach with several of my classmates and some fourth year students. We went to Nicaragua and worked side by side with physicians doing mobile clinics in some rural villages in Nicaragua. And there were so many experiences like that and mentors among the faculty at IU who helped nurture the calling I had on my life as well as helped prepare me for my career. People like Dr. David Matthews, who spends a lot of time doing surgery in Kenya, as well as here at the VA hospital. And people like Dr. Charles Kelly and Dr. Lorraine Kelly, who welcome students into their home to have conversations about medicine, but also about faith and about being a whole person and not compartmentalizing your life into, this is my career in medicine, this is my career as a humanitarian, this is my religious life, this is my personal life, but helping foster real holistic approach to life and to medicine.
That's interesting. Did you do a rotation in Kenya?
I wanted to do the rotation in Kenya, but I didn't get to.
Okay.
No, I never did get to do the IU Kenya program. But I had classmates who were able to take advantage of that opportunity, and I think it's a great thing, just the fact that IU has that partnership with the program in Kenya. I think that helps foster a recognition of the fact that we live in a global community, and even for students who don't get to go to Kenya, they're aware that that program exists and that there are people on the other side of the world who need medical care, and that we can help not only provide that care, but we can help train physicians and medical students all over the world to be better citizens of our global community. If I had to give one piece of advice to a medical student who is trying to decide on a specialty, I think I'd tell them, do what you enjoy. You're going to have a long career, and it's going to be way too long to be miserable in doing something that you thought someone else wanted you to do, or something that you thought would make more money, or whatever factor might push you into one specialty over another, choose the thing that you enjoy, because you're going to be a better physician if you enjoy your work, whatever specialty that is.
Career?
I think I fell prey to the pressure, just like everybody else, of trying to figure out what is the right specialty for me. I've got to choose the right one. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on students, as they feel like if they choose incorrectly, they're doomed for the rest of their career. Fortunately, I found the specialty that was a good fit for me. Mm-hmm. And that's really what students need to do, is find the one that's a good fit, the one that you enjoy, the one that fits your personality and your goals of who you want to be, not just what you want to do.
Would you also, I assume that your desire to go practice in places that didn't have all the bells and whistles that modern medicine here has might have helped direct you toward family medicine?
It absolutely helped direct me towards family medicine. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to practice in a majority world setting where the resources are not what we have here. And so I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do something general. So I sort of had it narrowed down as I started my clinical rotations to choosing between general surgery, emergency medicine, and family medicine. And of those three, I found family medicine to fit my personality better and to provide the breadth of training that I wanted and that I anticipated I would need in that sort of setting where I wanted to practice. I really started to recognize the attention that was being given to my situation and my friend Nancy's situation as I recovered at Emory and had more energy to do things like watch the news on TV. And I had a lot of time to watch the news on TV sitting in my isolation room. And I saw the reporting that was going on about Ebola. I think that's the first time I really recognized the attention that was being given to our situation, although I still didn't quite fathom it. When I sat down with I just lost the word. When I sat down with the PR guy from DeMoss, who represents Samaritan's Purse, mm-hmm. before my release from the hospital, my discharge from Emory, he was kind of helping me know what to anticipate in this press conference we were going to have. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to him, "Really? People really want to interview me, and why? I don't get it." So even though I knew the attention that was being given to Ebola and to our situation, I don't think I could really fathom how much attention was being directed toward us. And I had no way of anticipating how it would impact my family, or the fact that 9 or 10 months later we'd still be sitting here talking about it. But I'm thankful that, at least in part through mine and Nancy's situation, attention was turned to West Africa, and the international community began to step up in ways that were absolutely essential in trying to rein in this virus and bring the outbreak under control.
You became the maybe unsuspecting face of Ebola for the world to some degree?
I sure didn't intend to become the face of Ebola for the world, but if Ebola needs a face in order to get people to take action, then I'm honored to be able to stand in that spot for a little while.
Willing to loan yours. Has this impacted your children? Has it changed their lives? They're young. So.
The question, has it changed their lives, or how has it changed our lives? I mean, for one, I don't think IU would have invited me to speak at commencement if I had not gotten Ebola. But it's a hard question to answer because life happens, and who knows what it would have been like otherwise. I can tell you for sure we'd still be living in Liberia, and we'd still be working just like we were before Ebola, had none of this ever happened. So yes, it has changed our lives because now we're back in America, and I've joined the public speaking circuit. My children have been so flexible and cooperative through all of this kind of turmoil up and down, and they understand on their 6-year-old and 4-year-old levels some of what has occurred. My daughter says things like, well, we have to do this because we're famous now. But she also tells people, my daddy had to go out of town because he had to go speak and tell people how God saved his life. And that, she gets it. She understands that that's what we're doing. And I don't know if she understands or not that we're just doing it for a time, and eventually we'll get back to what we were doing before, and we'll go back to a place like Liberia and get back to the work that is our life's calling.
That's so sweet. Do you have a timetable for going back?
I don't. We're trying to discern those next steps right now.
Are you keeping in touch with Nancy?
I do. Not as often as we would both like to keep in touch, probably, but we talk occasionally, or she and Amber will talk, and I know that she and her husband David are preparing to move back to Liberia permanently. They have been back for a visit and are now kind of back in the States, tying up some loose ends and preparing for their return to their home in Liberia.
So she's doing well.
She is. The crux of my message to the graduates today is remember why you went into this in the first place. The world needs more doctors who remember what they wrote in their application essays. Ebola feels like death. At my sickest, on the day that I thought I was about to die, it was Thursday, July 31st, and I thought I was going to die of respiratory failure because I had fluid on my lungs and I was having to work very hard to breathe, and I knew that I had no energy left. I had been sick for a week. I had very little to eat. I'd been having a lot of diarrhea. And I thought, I'm going to exhaust myself and not have the energy to breathe anymore, and they won't have any way to breathe for me. And I really thought that day that I was going to die there in my bed in Liberia of respiratory failure.
You were conscious? I mean, you were...
That was a conscious thought that I had.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to the nurse, I don't know how you're going to breathe for me when I quit breathing, because they didn't have any way to breathe for me. There was no bag and mask. There's no ventilator to put me on.
Has that situation changed somewhat now that the world is focusing on?
No, that reality will take a lot more than disaster response to change. I mean, yes, probably I don't know for sure, but I imagine the Monrovia Medical Unit that was set up by the United States Public Health Service, it may have had the capacity for putting patients on ventilators, I'm not sure. But that doesn't change the access of your average patient in Liberia who is suffering respiratory failure. They still don't have access to a ventilator because most of the hospitals don't have ventilators outside of the operating room. or they don't have, consistent electricity, or all of the other infrastructure that's necessary for providing that sort of level of care. And that is bigger than a disaster response. That's an ongoing need.
It's public health and population health and lots of, yeah.
Now I think before my illness and even through my illness and in the months following, most people who had any experience with Ebola would have said that a patient with multi-system organ failure from Ebola, there's no sense in putting them on a ventilator or giving them hemodialysis because they're going to die. I think that would have been the common thought, an agreed upon approach. But we've seen now with some patients in America, with Dr. Ian Crozier, who was the anonymous patient number 3 at Emory, he required mechanical ventilation and hemodialysis, and he is alive today. And I think that changes the way we look at diseases like Ebola and diseases that have these devastatingly high mortality rates in the tropical world. Maybe there is something that can be done about that. Maybe they can be more survivable if the resources are available to treat people.
Ebola isn't the biggest threat to
No.
Liberia. What is the biggest health threat?
It's hard to narrow it down to one single biggest health threat in Liberia or sub-Saharan Africa or any area of the world like that.
I mean, malaria is more deadly.
Sure, there are lots of diseases that kill more people than Ebola. But really, if you want to talk about what is the biggest need for advancing health, or what is the thing for which the lack of leads to death for most people, I think you start talking about things like electricity and clean water. If you have electricity, then you can set up labs to run sophisticated diagnostic equipment, and you can run water purification systems, and you can change people's lifestyles so they don't have to walk 3 miles a day to get a bucket of water. They can turn on the spigot and have it come to them because it's been purified and pumped with electricity to them. And that changes everything. That changes people's hygiene habits, that changes people's lifestyles, that changes their priorities, and that changes health and life and death.
I don't think most Americans have really any concept of how people in Liberia and sub-Saharan Africa struggle. Do you think that's part of your mission? Is to make people more aware of the need?
I thought my mission was to go to those places and make a difference, hands-on. Right now I have a platform, an opportunity to speak out, and that has primarily been on behalf of West Africa and this Ebola crisis. But if people can hear my voice saying that this is the way life is for the majority of the world, and those of us who are privileged enough to have amenities like constant electricity and clean running water, we need to be doing something about the hardships faced by the majority of the world, because that's going to be better for all of us, and that is what it means to love our neighbors.
Yeah, and then, yes. Is your book going to discuss only Ebola or needs and for other nations, or tell me about your book?
Our book that my wife and I have written, it's a memoir. It focuses on our experience with Ebola, but it is deeper and broader than that. And it will tell some of our story about how we ended up in Liberia in the first place, and it will have some of our reflections on our experience with Ebola, as well as our experience in Liberia before Ebola. And I hope that our book can have an impact on people's lives to help them hear things, help them see things that they may not otherwise see about the needs of the majority of the world. And it might be a glimpse into what life is like for a lot of other people.
Are your parents going to be here today to watch you?
My parents live in Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
My sister lives here in Indianapolis. And this is Mother's Day weekend, and I'm here in Indianapolis with my wife and children, and all the rest of my family is out of town. My parents and my sister have gone to Abilene, Texas, where my oldest nephew is graduating from college. So I'm here at this commencement ceremony today instead of at my nephew's commencement ceremony in Abilene.
But Amber and the children are here.
They are.
Okay, yes. Well, is there anything you want to say that I haven't asked you about, or any comments you want to make to medical students, or any encouragement?
Should have anticipated that.
Anything
that
wonderful
question.
you want to say about Indiana University School of Medicine?
I'll be honest, when I was accepted to the IU School of Medicine and did not get accepted at a lot of other medical schools, there was a part of me that was disappointed, because I thought I wanted to go to some prestigious, Ivy League or some sort of well-to-do school. And I found out along the way that I was right where I needed to be. That Indiana University School of Medicine was a world-class institution, a top-notch school preparing doctors to take care of Hoosiers and to take care of people around the world. And I am incredibly grateful and proud of my IUSM education, and I still look to a lot of the faculty and staff here at this institution as mentors and as emblems of inspiration for the work that I still have ahead of me to do.
Is there any faculty that you'd like to say hi to? I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot, but if, we could share this if there is somebody in particular.
I would really like to express my, sorry.
Sorry to put you through this. There.
I would really like to express my gratitude and appreciation for Dr. Richard Gunderman and Dr. Joanne Wachesik, who both filled roles of formal and informal mentor, and they helped me find my way through this long road of medical education. And Dr. Gunderman, as a second year medical student in his radiology class, maybe third year, let me scratch that and start over.
Okay.
Dr. Gunderman, through his teaching of radiology and bioethics and leadership in medicine. He helped me see, and I think he helps a lot of other students see, that a career in medicine is much bigger than curing illness, and that it's a true privilege to be a part of your patients' lives. And he said some very nice things about me when I was sick, and I want him to know that I read those things.
I wondered if you saw
And
that.
it was deeply moving to me to have my mentor, someone I look up to, defending me and saying such kind words about me, not knowing whether I was alive or dead at the time. And I hope that I get to thank him in person for, not just for saying some nice things about me, but for the impact that he's had on my life over the last decade.
Maybe he'll be here today. And Dr. Joanne also said, really, she's one of my favorites, so I was...
Dr. Wachesik was my mentor, my faculty mentor through medical school. She helped me put together my applications for residency. She helped me navigate those choices about what specialty to go into. And I also rotated on neurology with Dr. Wachesik and Dr. Pascuzzi, and just had a really impactful experience sitting at their feet. And even though I'm a family doctor and not a neurologist, they taught me a whole lot about neurology and about being a good physician. And I really am thankful to them and appreciate what they do for students here as well as for their patients.